oftentimes I talk to established actors who are directing their first film, and they tell me that the only way they were able to get it made and get money was to promise to actually be in the movie too. You were able to get away with not being in the movie. How?
Just said I'm not going to be in the movie. I think it was important. You know, if you know somebody from acting, you might have all these preconceived notions of them. And it was important to me that this film was about these kids and not about you thinking about me in any way.
How long had this idea been percolating in your mind as a script, and how long did it take you to get it made and written?
Well, it took me 3 years and 20 drafts. And what's interesting about Heidi and Blauvelt is that I had asked them to work on it when I was only like 10 pages into the screenplay. So 3 years before we even started shooting, they were already the first two people. And Scott Robertson, our first AD / executive producer, who were like the people that I knew I wanted to make the movie with fundamentally. Mm. And they said yes, because they're very warm, generous people.
I'd love to hear from the two of you, Heidi and Christopher, your histories with Jonah. Christopher, I know you were the cinematographer on Don't Worry, You Won't Get Far on Foot, which is the movie that Jonah very recently made with Gus Van Sant. How far do you guys go back? What's your history?
Well, we met.
Jamie's birthday dinner.
Yeah, it was my wife's birthday at Musso and Frank's, and Jonah was there with Spike, and I didn't know Jonah yet, and I had it sold Polaroid, and I was like, I'm gonna go mess with these guys, and I was walking up like as if I was gonna sell them a picture, and I already saw Jonah like getting ready to like get rid of this guy. Spike like threw a napkin at me. Anyway, that night he told Jonah that's the guy that's gonna shoot your movie, so I was lucky enough to be on Spike's good list, and then we met. And he told me about this movie.
Yeah, so Chris shoots Kelly Reichardt's films.
Right.
And Chris is just a brilliant DP, as you could see from his work. So I was already a massive fan. And then, yeah, Spike is this really funny connector in my life. He's in everybody's life. He's just this wonderful guy. And he is definitely a mentor to me. And he just, when Chris walked away, he's like, oh, yeah, I bet you $1,000 Chris shoots Mid90s. And I was like, why? And he's like, he grew up skating in L.A., and I just know. And then I was like angry because I hate when people tell me like what I'm going to do, basically. And so I went home, and I was like, oh, he's wrong. And I'm like looking at all these other DPs, and then I thought about, the films that Chris has shot in Super 16, and just like even meeting him for 5 minutes, he's just a magical person. So I was lucky as hell that Chris would shoot my film.
How about you, Heidi? How did you guys connect?
Well, we have mutual friends, and I would see Jonah from time to time, and then it had been a while, and we were at a show, and I was across the room from him, and he yelled my name and was like, I've been looking for you, and told me about the project, and of course I was thrilled, and it took a minute before, I heard from him again with anything, but from that day, I knew that it was going to happen.
Jonah, you and I spoke about a month ago before anyone had seen this movie. We did an interview about it, and you said something that I really remember. You really didn't want this to feel overly nostalgic about the decade it takes place, and you said you didn't want it to be that 90s movie. Mm-hmm. How did you work with these two and your department heads all over the film to make sure that you were feeling authentic and accurate, but not too on the nose with it?
Well, I think we put a great amount of effort into just trying, whether it was Chris and I trying to shoot things from further back or statically and not like kind of move in on things too overtly. And then Heidi just meticulously choosing each piece of clothing for each person with like severe emotional reasons why. And I think that, I'll let her speak to that more, but.
Well, I laugh about it because, in essence, it's like a jeans and t-shirt kind of movie. And so like in terms of costuming, someone who might not be keyed into that world or what that time was about for kids like that, maybe, it might be lost on them, but there was a great deal of thought that went into all the costumes, especially because of the brands and a lot of archive stuff that we had to find or remake.
Jonah, how did you feel confident that Nickel and Olin could handle the acting that was required? Obviously, they're at the top of their game as far as the skating is concerned. What did you do with them audition-wise to feel like these guys can handle this?
I don't know. I think coming up in comedy, so much of being around young people in comedy when I was coming up, like so much of it is their mind or their spirit and then it kind of, I watched a lot of young people turn into actors, myself included. Like I wasn't a trained actor. I was trained as like a writer. So to me, you meet these people and their spirits are just so vibrant and they have an inability to be false. And so I figured if they're up for the challenge of working towards it, they will get there. It's up to them, really. And so a lot of times I would just ask them, like, I think you're wonderful. I think you're talented. I think you're special. Are you up for working tirelessly to become an actor? Is that something you're even interested in? Because I also just don't want to put you in the movie and have you be blasé about it either. And both Nickel, Olin, and Gio, Sonny, Ryder, they all, Chris and I designed the movie and Heidi, like we were going to have like them wired at base camp. So their clothes wired. So we were trying to protect the filmmaking process from them. But then they were so ambitious. They were so interested in learning about the film process that it was amazing, So I was like, how do we have them not even know a camera's there? How do we have them not even know that someone is wiring their clothing? Like, how do we just get them to exist? And then they were like calling out like mother-daughter shots and like all these like technical terms. And it was just like really beautiful to watch. Yeah, check the gate. They were obsessed with the term check the gate.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, they called themselves the check the gate crew.
The guy that plays fourth grade, his name's Ryder. Chris, did you work with him since he was shooting in the movie? What kind of stuff did you guys talk about?
Yeah, he had a camera that worked. He was filming with that camera constantly. We had a couple of them because they were old and they would break, but we had them all propped up to match. But he was incredible, and we'd send them off when we were doing a lighting setup. We'd send the kids off to skate, and they would get their own footage.
Yeah, the best was in the edit. Like I was like, there's a skate video at the end of the film. Like you guys have to make a skate video. So like they'd always be off, and Ryder would be filming them doing stuff. And for me, it was great. Is I just like had like 12 hours of footage when I got to the editing room, and I hadn't seen any of it.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was just like so cool. It was like my own ending to the movie, of like, oh, I got to see what they were doing with the opportunity to make something on their own too. And it was awesome.
Well, I congratulate all three of you on a job well done, a really great movie.